One of the more terrorizing, bizarre, and terrifying discoveries and topics I've learned about studying neurology has to do with awareness. And especially with those people, those humans, those folks, those dominant men and feminists who are women and gender neutral, this, them, they, and their, who constantly use language and sound to refresh their awareness, causing disruptions with spontaneous activities now. Kind of similar to sociopath. And social examples. Having an emotion when there's too much silence and quiet, similar to a dog, an animal, randomly barking after a noticeable pause with noise. An obsessive awareness disorder. Much different than the Capitol Hill in 2004, 2005, 2006. When there was no witches and magicians and mysterious gangster thug cartel drugs. And arguably, maybe there's always been a mafia in charge. But as politics continue to get more extreme, and people make decisions and choices to intentionally cause a disruption in awareness, to have dominance with the awareness, they are engineering and making to be an artificial part of world and civilization now. Facebook does a similar process using technology and software, buttons, flashes, and advertising, interfering with social conditions normally involving hormones and smells and senses. But instead now, attention and concentration and focus, fancy pictures, pretty videos, and up-to-date predictions about a status of philosophy and theory involving optics, and legalized drugs now. There's not really a day with stuff. There's so much observation. There's so much intentional disruption. And there's so much watching and listening and hearing and speaking and saying correctly, appropriately, and within time and limits set forth by the most intelligent, brilliant, and genius mathematician, writer, language dialect speaker whose culture and ethnicity they wear with their style. And talk about within their culture of tribalism and dreadlocks, a color of a skin on a face, on a screen, and in eye contact, they demand when a person doesn't choose and decide to participate in a repeating novelty now involving stimulation, reward in titties, sex and drugs, weed, toughness and muscles, gym memberships, and anarchists dressed as activists. Saving planet Earth. One black pair of pants and combat boots at a time. Now, there's possibly, there's potentially humans who go around a city such as Seattle making intentional choices about sound to have a social benefit for their political thoughts within their system they talk about with processes no longer racist now. Critical of every behavior, every noticeable twitch, and reflection of light from a fingernail. And when they're done, they return home to their apartments, their houses on islands. They fly on an airplane during a coronavirus pandemic and they vacation by an ocean. They go to their second home. They go to their friend's multi-million-dollar apartment. And for those less rich and famous, they go to their $3,000 a month apartment, sleep in their one bedroom, log on to their internet, go to a website, form a collective, and join forces as superheroes in a video game written about as a simulation they make in world now. On an object with birds, pigs, giraffes, tigers, and yaks floating in outer space. Humans who are doing so much control and having so much influence, canceling and deciding awake state they call mindfulness now. And eventually, no longer dating on the internet, where everyone goes to find a significant other when they're not married, with families, kids and mothers and fathers and grandparents and relatives now. They'll have sex robots. They'll have an artificially intelligent sexual object they don't need to dominate. And simply need to update to meet the standards they expect not only in the world out there in a civilization, but in their home where they have solved all of the problems with their brain, mind, smartness. Now, on a roller coaster, adults who would do these kinds of activities with sound and awareness eventually would be arrested for intentionally making children vomit from the confusion they would cause in an already challenging and difficult consciousness now. But birth rates have benefit in this context in Seattle. Women love those men who stand up for the rights of those poor, suffering humans. And those men love to calm their hormones and eat those vegan pot pies and sip on those whipped cream drinks. Having their food delivered for their dates with their wife, their mistress, their lover partner now. Smoking their weed, growing their mushrooms, and talking about their hallucinations as other dimensions involving aliens and UFOs, and how they're going to end climate change with their laws and rules no longer involving police. Military, and gender. Now,